I forgot to turn on the mic. There we go. um, yeah, I just saw my producer saying that I did not have the mic on, but I do now. So, welcome back to the College Football Fanatics podcast. I am here, your host Daniel. I have not been on this podcast in a while, but I am definitely going to be making that up on the official College Football Fanatics YouTube channel. Just look up College Football Fanatics. It's the only YouTube channel with that name out there, so you'll be able to find it pretty easily. This is episode 10, I believe. I could be wrong though. But let's just hop right in. So the first thing I want to talk about is actually pretty recent news, and that is Stetson Bennett got arrested for I think it was public intoxication. That basically means he was drunk in public, which is a stupid thing to do. And he's going into the draft now. It's completely idiotic for him to do that. This is going to hurt his draft placement. Now, I don't think he's going to be taken in the first round. I doubt he would be taken in the second, but he might be taken as like a third round pick. At least that's where I would take him. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's well rounded, but I just don't think he has the athletic ability that other quarterbacks on that in this draft have, like Will Levis, like Bryce Young, who's obviously a Heisman Award winner. Like CJ Stroud. I think CJ Stroud is a very good quarterback. He's lost 2 years to Michigan in a row. So thank you, CJ. But other than that, he's been a very solid quarterback for Ohio State. Now I get it. Some people are going to argue that the offense that Bennett ran at Georgia is going to more likely convert or convert better to the pro game than CJ Stroud's offense that he ran at Ohio State will. And there's truth to that, but I still don't think that that people are just going to pass up the opportunity of a highly skilled quarterback just because the offense that they ran in college was different than the offense that's being ran in pro. So I don't see it happening. So like I said, Stetson Bennett, late second, early third round pick for me. I think that's where he really deserves to go. That's where I think he absolutely should go. So now I want to talk a little bit more about the draft itself. And we'll be talking about this more and more as the time or the time comes for when the draft is going to happen. We'll be talking a lot, all the way up there. But a lot of controversy has been going around because the Bears got the number 1 overall draft pick in this year's 2023 NFL draft. The Texans lost it because their head coach was fired. Their head coach Lovie Smith. He was fired, and he was like, "Yeah, why not go out with a bang?" Chicago is my pro team. I know that they suck, and they're probably going to suck for the next few years. But I have hope for the future of the program and of the team. And when they make the move to Chicago or to Arlington Heights instead of Chicago, which is, believe it or not, I am from that Chicago area, so it's going to be a lot of fun. I actually really like that they're moving to the Chicago suburban area. I think that it's really going to change the area around there. But I still think that it'll be good for local business. It'll be good for property value, all of that. So, yeah. The next thing is, so Lovie Smith, former head coach of the Chicago Bears. I guess he just wanted to give his Bears a goodbye NFL gift, basically. because he's getting up there in age. I don't know if he's going to come back to coaching. I haven't really heard anything. I don't know if any of the teams are actually looking at him. Does he go back to college? Maybe he was at Illinois for a little while a few years ago. But it's just he is a bit older now, and I would say it's probably best for him just to retire, to settle down with his family, say, I'm done. I'll relax. I've done what I need to do. I've made my millions and millions of dollars. Um, so yeah. Next, the draft order for the top 10 picks are Houston, or Chicago, Houston, Arizona at number 4. Or sorry, number 1 is Chicago, Houston number 2, number 3 is Arizona, Indianapolis is at number 4. The Seattle Seahawks traded with Denver to get the number 5 pick. The Rams traded the number 6 pick to the Lions. Las Vegas has their 7th pick. Atlanta has their 8th. Carolina has their 9th. And New Orleans traded their 10th pick to the Philadelphia Eagles, who are currently on their way to possibly winning a Super Bowl. So that'll be interesting. So congratulations to both to both the Eagles, to both Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs. They're both going to the Super Bowl. I'm terrible at Roman numerals, so I can't remember what Super Bowl it is. It's like 58th or something like that, or 60th or whatever. I still terrible with Roman numerals, so I think it's actually like 63, because I think it's XL or LX3, I think, which I believe is 63. So it'll be, that should be a very fun game to watch. Although the semifinal game with the Bengals and the Chiefs, I was actually rooting for the Bengals. I wanted them to win. I wanted them to go on to the Super Bowl, and I actually wanted Joe Burrow to win the Super Bowl. But it was a great game nonetheless. There wasn't so much controversy in that game. There's a little bit. I mean, there's a Devontae Smith catch that at first it looked like it didn't hit the ground from where I saw it, and then I looked back at it and I was like, that does look like it hits the ground, but does he have control? Who knows? They called it a catch, so they couldn't overturn it. So yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about the draft right now, or a little bit more, I should say. So what do I think is going to happen with that number 1 Chicago pick? Because I would be astounded if they picked a quarterback. I would. And I think that they can trade out to number 4 at Indianapolis, or trade to Houston at number 2, and get a solid player. So, because Houston, no matter what, is going to grab a quarterback. So they're going to grab a quarterback. I think Arizona is going to grab a defensive player, but Indianapolis, I think, is gonna also grab a quarterback. I'm reasonably sure that they'll grab a quarterback. But Arizona with Kyler Murray, I don't think that they're going to be grabbing a quarterback for at least the next few years. Who knows? Maybe they end up trading him and draft a quarterback, but that seems ridiculous to me. But so what do I think Chicago's going to do with that number 1 overall pick? And that's been a question that, I've talked a lot with my family. I've talked a lot with other Chicago fans that I know. And that the answer to that question, I think they're going to trade. They're going to try and start a bidding war between Indianapolis, and they're going to try and Houston for that number 1 pick. And whoever gives them more, I think is going to get that pick. But I think they're also going to ask. A reasonable trade would be, say, Houston wants your number 1 pick this year. Okay, so you give Houston the number 1 pick. Houston gives you their first round pick this year. They give you their first rounder next year, and then they give you something like a third or a fourth round pick either this year or next year. And I think that's a pretty good deal for Houston, for the quarterbacks that are currently out there. I think that both Bryce Young and CJ Stroud are both very good quarterbacks. Will Levis is also a very good quarterback. Um, I I think Anthony Richardson, the quarterback from Florida, is also I think he's also in the draft. So he's also a decent quarterback, but for me, I have a hard time saying that he deserves to be like a first round pick. I have a hard time saying he deserves to be anything more than a third round pick. And I'm not talking like early third round. I'm talking like mid to late third round at best. I just don't think he has the tool set. I don't think he's developed it enough, at least at Florida, to make an immediate impact. He's almost like I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to compare him to Zach Wilson because Zach Wilson is an absolute dumpster fire, but he's not exactly on a great team either. But just Zach Wilson is a dumpster fire in the NFL right now. But he's not that awful. But I don't think I don't think he's going to be a starting quarterback in at least his first 3 years. I just don't see it. He's a mobile quarterback. He's very good on with his legs, and he has a decent arm, but I think he still has some problems reading the field. He sometimes misses receivers, things like that. So that's what I think. I think he's going to go third, fourth round, something like that. I think Stetson Bennett will go ahead of Anthony Richardson, a 2-time national championship winning quarterback. Somebody's going to grab him, and honestly, I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced that he won't go in the fourth round. There is a logical argument to make that Stetson Bennett will go in the fourth round or in the first round because he has 2 back-to-back national championships. Again, they are with phenomenal Georgia teams, so it's not like he didn't have a lot of help, and it's not like he's played on a bad team where NFL coaches can look at him and go, this guy suffers a lot under pressure or something like that. But I really think there's a possibility that a team gets desperate. Say, let's look at some of the teams. So maybe Green Bay gets desperate and goes for him, or New England even. Although Mac Jones is doing pretty well out there in New England, so I would say it's probably not going to be New England. But maybe one of these teams, the Giants, probably not. Dallas, no. Buffalo, obviously not. Jacksonville, definitely not. Cincinnati, absolutely not. San Francisco, definitely not. They've got Trey Lance and Brock Purdy out there, so it's not like they're suffering for anything. Kansas City and Philadelphia, absolutely not. So let's look at some of these teams in the middle, round in the middle of the pick. So Seattle, Tampa Bay, Detroit, Pittsburgh, Washington, Green Bay, New England, and the New York Jets. The New York Jets actually could possibly go for somebody like Stetson Bennett, who's a bigger guy. He can handle the hits, things like that. But I'm not convinced that they're ready to move off of Wilson yet. So I'm still looking at that there. Green Bay, probably not. They drafted I think it was Jordan Love a couple of years ago. So probably not. Washington, that's a low confidence maybe. Pittsburgh, no. Detroit, no. Tampa Bay, if they let go of Tom Brady, if they trade Tom Brady away, or if Tom Brady decides to retire, maybe they take a risk on like a Stetson Bennett type player and go for it, but probably not. I mean, none of these teams really seem like they're all that you know ready to go and go for a risky player like Stetson Bennett. Not saying that he's a bad quarterback, just that he's a bit risky. So championship game, Georgia obviously won. There's not a whole lot to talk about there. They're losing Stetson Bennett, but they've got that their backup Beck something Beck. I can't remember his first name. Sorry guys. You'll have to look it up, but they got their backup quarterback Beck. He played some in the college football championship game because they were just destroying TCU so badly. So it'll be quite interesting to see how he rises up after Stetson Bennett. There's one thing that I'm going to talk about now, and then I'll save semifinals talk for my main channel. I'll go over like film and stuff like that. So one final thing I'm going to talk about is going to be Archie Manning and Quinn Ewers. Now, for those of you who don't know, Archie Manning is the scion, the son of a prolific football family. So he is the son of Peyton Manning, I believe, and he's rated as I think the best player in this recruiting cycle this year. So I think he's rated as the best player. I think he's also rated as the second best player ever to be graded at 24/7 Sports. So in like the past however long 24/7 Sports has been doing this, it's like going on I think like 15 years now, somewhere around there. Yeah, he's great as like their second best player with I think Jadeveon Clowney as number 1 and Rashawn Gary as number 3. Both players that have gone on to have prolific college football careers. Rashawn Gary mostly with the Packers. I think he's still with them. I don't think that's where he got drafted though. I think he got drafted elsewhere. But so we have Rashawn Gary. Obviously, I just said that. And Jadeveon Clowney spending his time right now. I think it's in Cleveland, or at least he spent a lot of time there. I'm not super up to date on NFL rosters. So he might be retired. He might have been traded. No clue. I know a lot about my Bears, but other than that, don't know much about most other teams. I shouldn't say that. I don't know a ton about most other teams. So back to the question: Archie Manning or Quinn Ewers? I think Texas. So Archie Manning committed to Texas. He signed his NIL or NLI National Letter of Intent. I don't see him leaving. Like what was it? Rashida. Oh, what was his name? The Florida commit that wasn't going to get the NIL money, so he decided to leave. And I think it's a bad move on. I think it might not have been Florida, it might have been Miami. I think it was Miami actually. That might have been, it probably was Miami actually. Now that I think about it. So yeah. Actually, so that actually gives me so sorry, totally getting off topic here. Back to the topic again. Quinn Ewers, Archie Manning. He's going to be trying to fight for that starting spot. Quinn Ewers, I think, is going to eventually edge him out. I think it's just experience. Quinn Ewers will probably go to the NFL after this year if he does well next year. He'll probably be in the same class as guys like Caleb Williams. Who else? Who else? Maybe JJ McCarthy if JJ McCarthy has a great showing out at Michigan next year. But yeah, so Quinn Ewers might go out next year with those guys. A very talented draft pool. I think the way too early number one pick for me would be Caleb Williams. He's probably the best quarterback in that draft, at least as it stands right now. But yeah, so I think Quinn Ewers gonna edge out Archie Manning. Archie Manning obviously has great coaches in the form of his father and his uncle and his other uncle who also played football. I think he played it at wide receiver. So they'll be able to really help him out there and really, um, uh, show him, really introduce him into the ropes of higher level college football. And so he'll probably have a prolific career at Texas if he stays there. Maybe next year, if he gets edged out, Quinn Ewers doesn't go to the NFL. Does he stay? Probably not, because half a dozen programs, at least half a dozen top tier programs at least, would be willing to take him. So yeah. Um, the next thing I want to talk about, and this is going to be the final thing I talk about, is I'm going to be drawing up a college football history episode. I did this with Scandals on my official channel, and I also did it on here as well. But I did not do a great job on the one here as I did on the scandal on Scandals on my official channel. So it'll have to, you'll have to go look at that one. It's a decent episode, but I made it a while back. So this one will be on the convicts versus Catholics game between Notre Dame and the University of Miami. This is going to be it's gonna be a bit of a heated discussion because there's a lot of passion behind the game of college football in and of itself. And when you get um, a game that is named Convicts versus Catholics, that brings in a very that brings in a lot of really difficult questions, and there's also a lot of there's also a lot of things like this is the late 90s, so there's also things like possible discrimination in this game and stuff like that. And the people who were involved in making it well known as Convicts versus Catholics are not don't love that game became what it did. Now, there's going to be, I'll introduce the history behind it. I'll talk a little bit about the Disney Channel or the Disney Plus documentary that's out about it. And I'll tell you guys to go check it out at that point. But yeah, no, it's gonna be a little bit of a heavier thing. I'm gonna have it on my main channel. But yeah, no, it should be a fun episode to learn about because it's a well-known game that many of the people who were involved are still alive today. I mean, this was a game that happened in like, I think it was like 83 or something like that. I could be wrong. It could be a lot later, like 89 or something like that. But it was somewhere in the 80s and 90s where, tensions around the country were extremely high. This game just kind of, people at both universities felt somewhat disgraced by the game. and it really, hurt the passion and it hurt passion and futures of some of the people involved. So we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it on my main channel. Again, that's College Football Fanatics. That's it. Just look that up. You'll get it. It's right there. My Instagram for the College Football Fanatics Instagram is the CF_fanatics_official. So it'll be, that's the tag. I don't think I have it in the description of this episode so far, so I'll put it in next time. But just like I said, CF_fanatics_official. Go check it out. Go subscribe to both my channel and to the Instagram. It'll be, conversations will be had there in both places. So I thank you guys for listening. Have a great night. And I will be back here next Monday at 6 o'clock. And this will be the new Monday times. The schedule for my posting schedule on my main channel will now be Wednesday and Friday instead of Monday and Friday. So it'll be, it'll be a little turned around, but same day, different times. So I hope you guys have a great night. I hope you enjoy this episode. Please let me know with feedback and comments and things like that. Tell me what you want. Tell me what you really, really want. I know it's a song that's stuck in my head. I don't know why. But yeah, so tell me what you want in the comments below, and I will do my best to do that for you guys. And have a great night.